hello everyone. This is a cool setup. I feel like I'm at a wedding, but you haven't been given any alcohol. Okay, so today, leave your legacy code behind and go Nuxt. Who here has to work in legacy code? It's horrible, right? I feel your pain. So we're going to get rid of it today. Okay, so Phil already introduced me. This is pretty much who I am. And yeah, I'm a mentor at Open Classrooms, a tech degree moderator at Treehouse, a contributor for Webpack and Nuxt, a writer at Ultimate Courses, and a teacher at Vue School. So you can follow me, Debs_O'Brien, or Debbie O'Brien, and you connect to me if you have any questions, etc. So we have a problem. There's too much legacy code in the world. It's hard to scale. Front and back end code is mixed together. There's too many dependencies. We've got old tech stacks, JSF, PHP, WordPress, ASP, front and back code mixed together. Unmaintainable code that looks like this, like, oh, come on, how can you work with this? It's really, really, really painful, but that's reality. We've got bad performance. This is actually a company that makes a hell of a lot of money. They care about their search engine optimization, but not about their performance. This is another one. Again, they have loads of money, but their performance is terrible. And it gets better and better. So we're really, really doing bad when it comes to performance. It's about like 20-something there at the average. So if you're working on a big, massive company, do a performance check, and you'll probably look at it and then go, oh my God. But don't just do that and walk away. Do something about it. And that's what we're here today to do. So what are we doing about it? Nothing. Dumping more code on top of it. We're bloating the internet. It's going to explode. It really is. What? Why? We've got no time. Companies have got no money. But really, we're just afraid to take the migration step. Because it kind of looks like this, doesn't it? You look at your code and go, oh my God, no way, no way. What am I? No, can't do it, can't do it. What should we be doing? We should be migrating. And it should look like this. This is the way it should be. So where do we start? Piece by piece. Break up your project. Create and then ship. Now, we already had this example. Evan, you showed us that Louis Vuitton is running on Vue and Nuxt, and this is a perfect example of how you can create something and ship it. So the tech lead on this project is Tim Bennix, and he's doing an absolutely amazing job in it. And they have shipped the homepage in Nuxt, but not everything else, because they're creating and shipping. So if you check the code, you will see the homepage is in Nuxt. You click on another page, that's still in legacy code. And piece by piece, they're shipping and delivering, and they're migrating their old legacy code to Vue and Nuxt. So follow this project because it's really, really good. And I hope next year Tim will be here and he'll explain exactly how he did it all, because it's really fantastic. So where do we start? You got to convince yourself. Then you can convince your team. Then your boss. But you've got to know your tools. You also have to know what you're capable of. And know what you can deliver. Don't promise something and say, oh, in 1 month your whole site is going to be migrated, because it's probably not. So, you know. Run performance tests. Basically compare what you had to what you will have. Create some prototypes. But just do it. Don't think about it. Just go ahead and do it. Basically, just go Nuxt. So Patterson Travel is a case study. This is the website we've been working on. And we basically had to separate front and back, because otherwise I wasn't going to stay in the company. And we basically had to move from mixed code in PHP, and I was like, no way, no way. And move it to Nuxt app on the front end and a REST API in the back. So that basically meant the only thing we were going to fight over was the JSON. So that's, the only thing that ties front end and back end together was the JSONs. We had a couple of JSON wars, but it was cool. And then we just had to decide who is responsible for what. So header and footer, front end, are now going to be in charge of this, and then your content and the shopping cart was going to come from the back end. So that was pretty simple. And we, basically just decided that in a nice, orderly manner. But seriously, you've got to invest in your team. If you're going to migrate, you've got to make sure that your team know how to do it. Vue Mastery has some absolutely amazing courses if you want to learn Vue and Nuxt. Vue School, which is also where I write courses for, also have amazing courses in Vue and Nuxt. And Front-End Masters also have some great courses by Evan Yu and Sarah Drossner. So I don't say choose one over the other. I could say choose Vue School, because that's where I write courses. But no, I actually have license to all of them, and I do think they're all great resources, so you should get a license for all of them and invest in your team and make sure they all know how to use Vue properly. So lead your code. Make sure your code looks like it was written by one person. You know when you go to code base and then you go, oh my God, this was written by him, this was written by her, this is like... No, it should all look like it was written by one person. So create some standards. Use ESLint. Prettier, make sure your code looks all the same. StyleLint. Create some pre-commit hooks. So I use Husky, I really love Husky. So you can basically just say, make sure that before you commit, all your code is going to be linted, it's going to be staged, and it's going to basically not go through to the commit if it's not, doesn't meet my requirements. So Husky's a cool tool, and check it out if you're not already using it. Use pull requests. So we work with Azure, and we use pull requests, and they're a great form of learning. So these are actually real pull requests that I just took and probably... I don't know if I'm allowed, but anyway, they're there. And basically, like, this is me commenting to my team and saying, you know, I don't understand why you deleted the meta content. And he said, oh, because this. I'm like, check the Nuxt docs. So they can basically learn from it. So from these comments, my team have improved their code base and their code knowledge. And also, it's really important, I'm the tech lead of the company, but my code is always checked by someone else. And not just because my code is perfect and I want them to see it, but also because I will make mistakes and my team will pick up on that as well. And they'll also question things, and they won't just say, like, why did you do that? And then, like, I can teach them why, but they'll also say, why did you do that? And I go, oh my God, you're right. I don't know why I did that. And I might have to figure out the answer or change it or etc. So use pull requests to teach your team and help your team along the way. Test your code. Really, really important. Cypress is one of my favorite tools at the moment for testing. I absolutely love Cypress. Jest and Vue Testing Library, which is really, really cool. Anyone know Vue Testing Library? Okay, you should all just go check it out. 1 or 2 people, okay? It's really, really cool. And testing is really important. Should you test? Should you care? Tests should give you confidence that you aren't shipping broken software, okay? So make sure you are testing, as Sarah told us earlier. But seriously, this is what Cypress code looks like, and I won't go too much into detail because there's a great talk tomorrow that's going to go into detail on this. But if you just look at it, it just is easy to read. It's so simple to write this kind of code, so you should be testing. And the same with Vue Testing Library. Again, I really like this library because it makes sense. It's like, just look at it. Get by the text times clicked 0. The button is get the text with the button with the text increment, and await a fire event of a click of the button. And then the text should be times clicked 1. It's super simple. So check out that library, because I really, really enjoy working with it. Document your code. It's really important to document your code. I use VuePress in my Nuxt app. So all my documentation is in a VuePress application in my Nuxt application, which is kind of cool, which means all my docs are basically there. We have a full documentation. Anyone can go to the project and just launch that application and then basically see what they need to do and how they need to work on. So this is really cool. There is a Nuxt Press, which the Nuxt team are working on, so maybe soon I might use Nuxt Press instead, but at the moment VuePress suits my needs and it works inside Nuxt, so it's perfect. Generate your files. I like to use Hygen. Anyone heard of Hygen? Yeah, 1 or 2. It's really, really, really cool. So basically you can just like generate your component files, your layout files, your pages files, etc. And it will like also create the test file for you. And you can put in there, for example, that you want all your script tags to be scoped, so then people are not going to forget to put the scoped in there into your script tags, into your style tags, sorry. So basically you can just create things, and then everyone is going to follow the same standards. So this is also really fast. You just go new, component, and it's going to, like, as you've seen in this example here, it puts in an underscore base if I want a base component with a dash in between it. I call the component Debbie because I just thought that was cool. And it also makes sure that you don't have duplicate components. So if I put in something that was already there, it would tell me you already have that component. So this is a great tool to use. Think first and code later. This is really important. Like, think and plan or draw before you write. Don't just say, I'm going to migrate that big application and just start writing code. Think about it first. Create a plan. Styles. Use Tailwind. End of conversation. No, but I honestly stop adding big libraries of styles that you never use. Like, Bootstrap example. Stop creating styles for everything where you've just got styles all the time, repeated all over the place. Think utilities first. Now, John did have a great talk, and I am tempted to go back and use Vuetify. I didn't like Vuetify at the start when I first tested it out a long time ago. So I am looking forward to testing out because they have improved performance. They've got like now SAS, etc., or it's coming. So check it out, although I haven't used it. But seriously, like this is one of the websites that we were working on. It's a massive application, but it's basically got like 1.18 megabytes of CSS. That's just too much, okay? To try and handle that, to migrate that, it's just horrible. And it's created with Bootstrap. And this is the one we work on. And as you can see, it's 16 KBs, so that's kind of really, really cool. That's before gzip. And it's so much lighter. So Tailwind is really, really great. I suggest you have a look at it. Utilities classes, less code to maintain. It's a utility for a CSS framework is Tailwind. Anyone here using Tailwind? Yeah, one or two of you. So the rest of you, go check it out. It's really cool. It feels a little strange at first because you put all these things in your HTML and then you go, oh, I'm dirtying my HTML. But seriously, you will develop things a lot quicker and everything will be a lot easier to maintain. So give it a try and check it out. Add a progressive web app. Anyone here built a progressive web app? Okay, a few of you, but not too many. So if you don't know how to build a progressive web app, Kyle Simpson has a great course on front-end masters. You should go check that out, learn about service workers. It's about 4.5 hours, then come back and then implement it. In about a day and a half, you'll probably have it done. Or you can just use Nuxt. So to build a progressive web app in Nuxt, all you got to do is, well, what it does is it registers a service worker for offline caching. It generates a manifest JSON file for you. It adds search engine optimization friendly metadata, and it generates different size app icons for you. Okay, so what have I got to do to get this? 3 steps. Number 1, yarn add or npm nuxt.js/pwa. Go to your Nuxt config file, and in the modules, just add the module. And then upload the image to the static folder. That means like drag it and drop it into the static folder in your application. That's it. Simple. How long would that take you? Like not even 3 minutes. So seriously, if you have a Nuxt application and you don't have a PWA, go home right now or do it right now. And like seriously, you'll be like, oh my God, it was so easy. Why have I not done this? It took me 3 weeks to think about doing. I was like, oh, I need to get around to doing this. I'm going to do it. And then one day I sat down and I did it. And I was like, why did I not do this earlier? So seriously, check that out. PWA tips. So by default, the PWA name will come from your package JSON name. So if you don't like what you wrote in your package JSON, you can just set it in Nuxt to be merged with your meta. So just put a meta in your Nuxt config and then put whatever you want in there. Build static sites. Seriously, I need you to leave this room with static sites in mind. They're not static. They're really, really fast. They're fully dynamic. Seriously, I'm telling you, they are fully dynamic. The hydration process kicks in, which basically turns your application into something dynamic and fast. And it's got great search engine optimization benefits. So static site, just to tell you, static generated or pre-rendered, it means to pre-render the application once during build and serve it as a single-page application. So basically, at build time, you're generating everything. That means Google can read every single page, because that's really, really important. And then after that, it acts like a single-page application, which basically means it's going to call the API on every single page load every time you change the page, just like a single-page application. In Nuxt, it will call the API every time you click on the next page. So it's basically just a single-page application, but made already, especially for Google, and it basically means because it's already built and rendered, you don't need a server. So it's really cool, really fast, and much cheaper. But why should you care? Because you already have a fast network, right? You're at home and your page, it's pretty fast. And the boss is saying, our page loads fast enough already, And my boss told me, I didn't ask for a Ferrari. I was like, okay. He's like, my page it already loads really fast. I don't need it to be any faster. And I was like, yeah, but, what if you're on a train? Anyone been on a train and you've got to use the Wi-Fi in the train? And then it's just like, oh, it's not loading. And you go to a tunnel and then you've lost your internet for a couple of seconds. You get really frustrated because you've lost a bit of internet or because it's taking longer to download the page. And I'm one of these really privileged people. I have 5G network at home. I have 4G everywhere I go in Spain. And I have a free roaming all over Europe. So every time I travel in Europe and in the United States, I have free roaming, which means I've got 4G everywhere. So I don't really care much about the page loading fast because I've got a great network. And then I came to Canada. Now, there's nothing wrong with Canada's internet, but I don't have free roaming, and I refuse to pay 15 euros a day because I'm a bit of a cheapskate. So I'm using food hall Wi-Fi, and I went to the Apple Store 3 times this holiday just to get Wi-Fi. And that just basically means that the Wi-Fi connection is not as good as I would normally be used to, which means I'm not using the internet as much. I kind of like just get frustrated and go, this is not loading fast enough, and I just kind of like go. So, you could build your sites, for me. In 2 seconds, I'm gone. You need to build a fast website, and, I really don't like to wait. Or you could turn around and say, well, I don't need to build websites for Debbie because it's only when she's in Canada, and that happens like once a year. So she's got fast internet. But other people, maybe the Canadians come to Europe and they don't have free roaming, so they're going to have a really bad experience in Europe. Or maybe some people just don't have good Wi-Fi at all, no matter where they're traveling or where they're living. Okay, so we've got to think about everyone. Not everyone has super fast 4G network all the time. So build sites for everyone. Don't just build websites for me. So build static sites. Seriously, if I was to tell you the solution to your problem so that your websites are going to be faster and you're going to be able to build sites for me and for people who have really bad Wi-Fi, who don't have a great connection, your page is going to load really, really fast, build static sites, that is your solution. Now, if you're using Nuxt and you already have a Nuxt app created and it's in universal mode, so it's not single-page application, it's universal, and you want to change the static site just to test it out and see what it's like, the only thing you have to do is change your build command. Instead of saying Nuxt build, just say Nuxt generate. That's it. That will run the build command for you, and then it will generate all your static pages for you. So really just test it out, because it's one small change, and all of a sudden you've got a static site. Really cool, right? And if you're starting off, then you're basically building everything exactly the same. It's just the build command that changes. So seriously, check it out. Now, full static module. So with the full static module, basically, do you remember I told you it acts like a single-page application, so we're calling the API on every time we change the page. With the full static module, we will call the API once at build time. So we're building the page, we call the API, and if you can imagine like a folder, and it basically calls the API and gets for every single page a JSON file and puts it into this filing cabinet, into this folder. So every single one is right there. So that basically means that all you've got to do is it's going to call the payload, it's going to call this folder instead of the API at navigation. So it's right there, it's close, yeah? It doesn't have to go all the way up to the API, wherever that is, on some server up in a cloud somewhere. It basically has everything right there, which makes it much, much faster. And then it also works offline, because I now go to the next page, and if I don't have to call the API, because I'm just calling everything and I've already got it, it's going to work offline. So the full static module is really, really, really cool. And the payloads, how it works is, it basically, in the Nuxt folder, it creates a payloads folder. Inside that payloads folder, it creates this strange number, I don't know why, and it puts everything in here. And then it basically lists all the pages you have. So these are all the pages I had, the case studies page, the blog page, the Catalan page, etc. And then it creates a payload JSON and a payload JS for each one of those. So that's what it does. But you don't have to worry about doing anything like that. I'm just showing you what it looks like. And then if you were to check in your network tab, you can see it's calling the payload. Normally, you'd have the call to the API. And here you can see that it's calling the Nuxt folder, it's calling the payload. And then basically, you've got like full static module. So this is really, really cool. The full static module then will work offline. So when you're sitting on that train going through a tunnel, you're not even going to know, because you're just going to have that page is just going to be loading all the time. So this is really, really powerful. And this is coming soon. Okay, so this is going to be released very, very soon, but it's one of the next modules to be released. And it will be included automatically in the next release. So you're not going to have to do anything to get it, but it's just going to be there. So it's really, really cool. So a static site and a single-page application. So we basically built a travel agency website. And with a travel agency website, we had a booking engine. We had to, obviously, let our clients book a hotel, book an event. And we can't generate that, because I don't know how many children he's going to take, or how many adults there are, which hotel he's going to choose, what event he's going to choose. So I can't generate all those pages. So what do you do when you have that situation? Then you kind of say, I can't build static sites, because static sites are only for blogs and they're only for small websites. No, they're not. You can build a static site and you can put a single-page application inside the static site. That sounds cool, right? How do you do that? It's really easy. You just build everything as normal. And then all you've got to do is use the exclude option in the Nuxt config. And you basically say generate, fall back to true. So I want you to fall back, I want it to be true, and exclude booking. So everything that I build for the booking engine, I put it in a bookings folder. But you could put a regex expression here, you could put anything you want. And basically everything that's in the bookings folder, do not statically generate it. Basically just ignore it. And what it does is then it says, oh, I don't know what you are, I don't know you, and you don't exist, so you're going to be a single-page application. And it works fantastic, and you can check out patterson.travel, and you can see how we've done it. And it's you won't notice a difference. The only person that notices a difference is Google, because Google goes to the booking page and says, oh, I don't know what you are, you have no content. But as a user, it's going to work perfect. So seriously, this is really cool. Now, the pages folder, this is where you put your views, yeah? This is where most of you got wrong in the quiz. But this is basically all you do to get a Vue.js file working is put all your Vue files into the pages folder. So you just save it in here, the about page, the booking page, the conditions page. As you can see, I've got folders there, so you can create folders and put the files in there as well. And basically, that means you don't have to bother working and creating a Vue.js file, because it's kind of like hard work, as Eduardo said. And like, you really don't want to be dealing with this guy here, yeah? I mean, I'd much rather just put things in a pages folder and have it automatically just be generated for you. Now, we know about dynamic pages, right? Because like, we also have pages like a blog, and the blog has a slug. And you can't put that in your into your pages folder. What you'd put in is the underscore slug. Anything with an underscore in Nuxt basically means it's a dynamic page. It means I don't know what that page is going to be called. So that's going to come from your API. It could be whatever the blog Toronto conference, and the next one could be the next conference, etc. But you don't have that information, so you can't put it into your pages folder. So you put an underscore slug. And then what you have to do is you've got to write a generate, in the generate option, you've got to write a function. And you've got to say roots, create this function, go and get my blog from my API, and basically return map over all my slugs. And then if I've got, like I say, 1,000 slugs, it's going to map over them. It's going to add it to my router array, and it's going to then add that to the Vue.js file. And that's kind of a bit annoying when you have like a lot of API calls, because we had a load, and you've got to like, the blog one, what else is coming from the API? We've got the case studies, we've got the events. So you kind of have to write quite a lot of functions, which is a little bit of annoying, but it's still cool because it works. However, the Nuxt Crawler module. What the Nuxt Crawler module will do is basically crawl all your Nuxt link tags and auto-generate your dynamic pages at build time. That means you're not going to have to do any of this anymore. You don't have to write that anymore, which is cool, right? Because I hated writing all this. You basically just use the Nuxt Crawler. The Nuxt Crawler, again, is going to be added by default. And like I said, so the Nuxt link is like your links, like your A tag, but it's for your internal links. It will basically just crawl all of those links, so all those blogs, slugs, all of the, every single page that's included as a link. If it's not linked, then obviously it's not going to generate it. You can still add to your generate function if you want to. So if you didn't have anything that wasn't being linked to the Nuxt link, then you can still use the generate function as well. So this is really cool, and this module, again, is coming soon. But I know some of you are a bit impatient, right? You're like, I want it now, I want to just see it, I want to play around with it. So if you do want to play around with it, these are the links, and I will post the slides in the Slack channel as well. And you can just go, it's just in, you can also Google it, it's like basically there. And it's in the Nuxt org in the modules. The module is the static one and the crawler one, and you can manually put that in and test it out. It's still a prototype, okay, so it might change and things might be a little bit different. It's very, very stable. I've played around with it, it's really cool. But in the next release, it will be there for you. So if you can't wait, check it out. If you can wait, then basically, once it's released, just use it because it's just cool. So you should run performance tests. So be aware of what you're shipping. Use the Webpack Analyzer. Run an audit in Google Chrome DevTools. And check your CSS with CSS stats. And make sure you analyze your bundle. So Webpack gives you everything for you. And basically, all you got to do is read it. So just read it and kind of look at this code and say, oh my gosh, that page, that chunk name, it's just too big. What's happening there? What's going on there? And then you can like see what's being loaded. If you find this, like a lot of people are scared of Webpack and go, oh, that looks too long and scary, Then we have a nice one, and you just go yarn build -a. So Nuxt already has this configured, and you've just got to run that command, and then you get a little bit nicer, more beautiful a Webpack Analyzer. And you can then see if you've installed a bundle that's too big. You can kind of say, oh, that's too big. Why am I including that? Do I need that, etc. Improve your code. So Nuxt gives you code splitting by routes for free. You don't have to do anything. Like I said, put it in the pages folder and you've got everything code splitted for free. But you have to code split your components, okay? Webpacker telling you right here, code split your components. How does code splitting work? Anyone know how code splitting works? Oh my God, it's like this, okay? So basically, you just got to understand how all that works. If you want to understand how all that works, just ask Sean Larkin. But seriously, code split your components, it's really, really simple. Just change this. This is all you got to do. So normally you'd import your footer, for example, and then you put your components the footer, okay? We all know that. But think about it, the footer is going to be at the bottom of the page. Your users might never, ever, ever see that footer. They might not scroll down. So automatically, just code split it from the start. Don't think later on, oh, I'm going to go back and code split all my components. Think from the start and just put that in. Components, the footer, and you're just using an arrow function and you're importing it, and there you have it code splitted. That's it, simple. So like, seriously, think about doing this. Modals, footer components, drop-downs, something that you're not going to be getting up front. Lazy load your translation. So if you're using Nuxt internationalization or Vue internationalization, basically all you've got to do is put lazy true. If you put lazy true, it's not going to load the Spanish ones unless somebody clicks on Spanish, etc. Lazy load your images. So I actually use Vue lazy image plugin. Chrome now have the native one, so you can use that as well. But basically just lazy load your images so that you're not downloading them all up front. Use a CDN for your images. So we've already heard about Cloudinary. And Cloudinary is great. And this one is actually coming automatically in the next release of Cloudinary that you don't have to write this, the Q_auto and the F_auto. So it's just going to be automatically done for you, which is cooler. Because at the moment, I manually have to do this on all my images. And what it does is it's going to give me the most performant image. And it's also going to give me a WebP if I'm in Chrome, and if I'm in Internet Explorer, it's just going to give me a JPEG. And it will automatically deliver to the browser the right image just by adding that. That's just cool. So it's free to check out. So like, if you don't already have an account, check it out and start using Cloudinary. It's great. Put accessibility first. Use labels for your forms, for example. Use area tags. And be careful with color contrasts. And use your tools. So Chrome Dev Tools for accessibility is really great, and you can see if you're doing a good job with your accessibility or not. Even like the color contrast, it tells you. It's got an AA there, so I'm like, I'm good. But before we weren't. Actually, it was Maya who gave out to me in my talk in Italy, and she basically said, your color contrast is terrible. You need to improve your accessibility. And I was like, how? It's like, look, and she showed me this. And since then, I just told my designers, I was like, look, just change the gray. Just change it to a tiny little shader of different gray. We're not going to notice a difference, but someone with a visual impairment will definitely notice a difference and will appreciate it. So seriously, check that out. Modern mode. So you build 2 versions of your app. Okay, so you can build a modern bundle for browsers that support ES modules, and then you can build a legacy bundle for all those Internet Explorer ones and those ones that you don't really want to care about, but sometimes you just have to. And all you got to do is just basically put the flag --modern, okay, or -m. And so in the generator, if you're doing a static site, Nuxt generate --modern. So the future is TypeScript. Eduardo basically has told us all, and we've had a lot of talk about TypeScript here, and everyone is going TypeScript crazy. So I just decided to put this in and just like, you know, Nuxt has 100% support for TypeScript. So if you want to use TypeScript in Nuxt, you can. That's the Nuxt TypeScript module, and it supports it fully. So if you are a TypeScript fan, check that out. But seriously, really what you've got to do is be proud of your code today. So at Patterson Travel, this is what we did from changing from a PHP application into the Nuxt app. And we're calling the API on pretty much most of the pages. And our performance is 93. That's because of my fonts, and I need to fix that. But I will. I aim for perfection, and I will get better. But like, you should be aiming to try and constantly improve it. Accessibility 100, best practice 100, search engine optimization 100, and we have a progressive web app. So we're really, really proud of our code. You should also be proud of your code. So Nuxt will help you get really, really good performance, and even the Chrome team are actually also helping out Nuxt, and they're helping Nuxt and other meta frameworks because they're promoting them because they really, really improve performance. So we're really happy to have Chrome also like supporting and pushing Nuxt, which is great. But basically, what are you waiting for? Do you still have an excuse, or are you going to leave your legacy code behind? Are you Nuxt? Thank you very much.